Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. So, we're going to do a Soulmate Snapshot reading for you today, but I'm going to start with a channel announcement and a question to the viewers, and then transition into the reading. So, I'll just put a timestamp below in case you really want to bypass the channel announcements. But it's going to be about the way that I communicate with you, with my viewers, which up until now has been me replying to every email and every note that came through on social media. At least I think so anyway. So I'm very sorry if I have missed you. And the thing is, I love you guys. I want to give you guys the support that you need, but I get a lot more email these days than I can reasonably respond to. So I realized if I wanted to do this right, I can't do direct email responses to every email anymore, which is hard for me because I'm not the sort of person who likes to leave anyone hanging, but it's just so many messages. It's like it's the best problem to have. But here's the thing, you're still quite welcome to share. So I've encouraged you to share your stories, and I've historically pulled readings for it. I'll still do that. I'm still going to read your notes and draw the reading questions from there. I just won't be able to respond to them all personally anymore. And like I said, I consider this to be the best problem to have. But I will work those questions into my readings to be sure I get those answers out there. So that was the channel announcement. And I also have a question to viewers. So this is something that I've already had conversations about this with a few of you. And that's what's kind of molding my thoughts here. I'm thinking about doing something else to bring this group together since I have been talking to you. So I know that so many of you are amazing people and would greatly benefit from one another's wisdom. You have incredible wisdom within this group. There's so much there that sometimes I bring your wisdom into the readings so that everybody can hear it. I mean, it's a potentially a place where you could share that among yourselves. Because you guys are amazing. I talk to you, so I know. I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to lose your sounding boards, I guess. And I'm losing my ability to kind of keep up my end of the conversation, so I thought, why not put the people together if at all possible? So just thinking about maybe a group you can join, a closed place that would be members only, just thinking about it a little. I'd be happy to hear your thoughts. I'm thinking about designing something based on what you say, just like I like to design the readings based on your questions. So let me know what you want. I'd like to start building something. So more to come on that. And in the meantime, so we're kind of transitioning to the reading here. I'll put the timestamp before this. We've got a question that came out that came from a viewer. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in it. And I went ahead and I responded to the email. And I'm just going to kind of tell you what I said, because it wasn't necessarily something you do a reading for. It was just some thoughts to consider. And so the viewer had asked about other options coming out of the woodwork and whether they should pursue these options given that they know it's not their person. So I told them to go toward what they feel attracted toward. So if they don't feel ready yet, if things are not ready yet, they aren't going to feel the attraction not to go that direction. But if they are feeling the attraction and they're just getting confused because they know it's not that divine masculine and that particular divine masculine, the thing is to realize you're going to have multiple soulmates. So it's okay to be bonded to more than one soulmate, because you're going to have different types of relationships. One, as I was mentioning, can be bonded to you like a twin flame. Another one teaches you lessons. They both teach you lessons, but another one can be bonded more like a gentle karmic is how I termed it. And I also explained that that's how I would term my primary relationship. So I also mentioned that it's a lot easier to spend your life hanging out with a gentle karmic soulmate than it is with a twin flame because of the nature of the lessons, but you're never really going to get rid of that twin flame feeling. So that same viewer is going to feel really like spotlighted today. Asked another question about unconditional love and why their person doesn't feel more comfortable with it, since it is nothing but good and wonderful energy. And I thought this is another one of those things where I had a response, and I'll share it with you, but I think this is something we can probably read and do a little bit more. That's what our Soulmate Snapshot is going to be about today. So, it'll be a general reading for our collective. And so, as usual, it's not going to resonate with everybody. It's just, if it's for this collective. So if it resonates for you, great. Then you might want to think about looking at some of these other messages, because they're all very much connected together. So the question, it was about unconditional love. And really, if this, why are they not more comfortable with this unconditional love? Because it is so wonderful. And I was saying that, and we've seen this in previous readings, held this up. They're not ready for it yet. They're not ready for unconditional love. The way that I said it was that that endless blanket of love feels like snuggly and cozy, that like the endless blanket of love feels snuggly and cozy to you, but it's more like a smothering trap to them. They really just kind of can't sit still with themselves yet. It's part of what they need to solve. It's part of the lessons that we've been learning about getting comfortable with things that are generally uncomfortable. So we're going to go ahead and start with the reading, and on that topic of unconditional love, and just kind of asking the question about why they don't feel more comfortable with it. We're going to start out with the general energy of the moment between the two of you, though. We've been watching it kind of be a little bit uncomfortable here. So we've got justice. Something is happening. Something is changing between the two of you now. That is creating, it's going to ultimately create a little bit more balance, but I don't know that it feels that way in the near term. Oh, all that fell, and none of it was for this reading. Yeah, it feels like things are kind of coming into true, but not necessarily. It might feel a little bit jolting at first, and instead of feeling comfortable, might take a little getting used to. And some things may actually change and not stay that way. So we've still got the limitation around the emotions coming out from your person's place in particular, and the inconsistency of those emotions. With the Page of Wands here and the King of Cups, with this Justice card, it's just kind of showing me that even though things are evening out, one of the reasons that it's not especially comfortable is because we've still got some of these pieces that haven't been healed yet. But there is a new perspective that I'm seeing here with this Five of Cups. Both of you are experiencing a little bit of this new perspective, where there's an energy of you being able to look at the big picture and the good with the bad. But with this inconsistent Page of Wands energy coming from your person, and this incredibly limiting energy, just kind of, it does impact that energy. It's the reason that we pull this energy, so that we have some idea, kind of the context that we want to take the rest of the reading in. And it's going to be a little bit different, from time to time. It could change like moods, like with the weather, So we have the Page of Swords. Here's that fear, that hiding. Again, significant hiding feeling coming from their side, but also kind of feels like maybe a little bit from your side. And maybe it's not necessarily like running away and hiding, but kind of a fear that is causing both of you to respond. It's kind of whatever your response is when cornered. Your person is very much a runaway sort of person when they get uncomfortable emotionally. We're seeing maybe some of what your response is in here as well. We've got the Knight of Swords in the upright, which is what's kind of making it a sharper, tougher edge. We've got the Page of Swords in the reverse here, which is inconsistency about being able to stay in the picture. It's a tendency to want to kind of run away and hide. That's where a lot of the energy is coming from. It's coming from that Page of Swords. And that feels like your person's energy more than anything else. Let's see here. So I think, yeah, this is it. What have we got? So we've got the Moon, the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, and the King of Swords in reverse. All right. So there's an inability with this King of Swords in reverse to back up and take a look at the big picture, to really use that logical mind. Of course, we don't want to get too leveraged in that, but we do want to have some of the logic kind of mixed in there. And there's a tendency to kind of drape a blanket over the truth there for some reason. And that is, it's shame. There's shame coming off of this Seven of Pentacles card, feeling like they didn't do what they should have done when the time was available. They've made a mistake by passing things by passing things with you by. There's no way for them to go back. And we've seen in some of the readings they'd love to be able to just kind of go back to a time that was simpler. They know that's not really going to be possible. But there's still a lot of mystery about how they are going to move forward. And I feel like that's a shared energy between the two of you. A lot of mystery for both of you as far as what you want to do as you're moving forward. So that's kind of the backdrop, the energetic backdrop. Let's get a little bit of a look now at the answer to our question. So the question again was, we've got this unconditional love that's coming their direction. And this was a concept that showed up from a previous reading. So it was the King and Queen of Cups came out, and the Queen of Cups was in the upright and the King of Cups was in the reverse. And I think it was the Mother and Father of Water in that particular deck, but it was the equivalent. It was still that water energy, cups energy. And it was this, you presenting with this unconditional love and them being very locked up by that. Like they were being triggered by the unconditional love. And so this viewer was confused about how that could be, given that it's such a beautiful flowing love. And the thing is, they're just, like I was saying, they're really just not ready for it. But let's look into it a little bit more and just kind of understand what is behind that. Why are they so triggered by it, instead of not even just able to, they're not even missing it, like they're triggered by it. So what is causing that? It causes them to create those limitations, like we see with this King of Cups over here. That air, that energy is still there. So what's causing that? Why are they balking at unconditional love? That's really what we want to know. See, it does seem like a completely valid question. Why would anyone balk at unconditional love? So we've got the High Priestess, but the High Priestess in reverse. This is about secrets coming out. It's about hearing too much, seeing too much, finding out a little bit too much. It's too much for them to handle. They're not in a position to be able to really, they don't know what to do. That lesson of the Ten of Cups, the lesson of discernment, where they have no idea what to do with you when you get there. That's very real, because you are to them, it's an almost threatening energy, definitely intimidating if you're feeling like you don't really share it. It's incredible feminine energy. It's the Queen of Pentacles. This is earth energy, and the Queen of Pentacles is really incredible because she's just got this air about her, like she's totally in control of her own situation. And it's intimidating. We've seen it in previous readings. We're seeing it again here. What else have we got here? Got a couple that came out here in the reverse. So we have the Three of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Chariot, all that have come out in reverse, and those are the ones that we want. So, okay. Three of Swords. It's like, again, you would think this is something that's positive, but you take some of their pain away. You take some of their pain away and make them feel like they can let their guard down. They got closer with you than they have gotten with anyone else since some major catastrophe earlier on. And it's something they'll have interpreted as a major catastrophe. So you may look back on their life and not think that it's the same kind of catastrophic thing, or you may not necessarily think that it's going to have that sort of effect. But it's causing them to really just put the brakes on. So we've got the Chariot in reverse here. It's about putting the brakes on, but it's also about, my eye is drawn to the dove in front of this man's face. I mean, clearly this is very surreal. It's the Surrealist Tarot, and we're going to see some of that. But one of the cool things about this deck is that you can just kind of see what you're drawn to, and it'll be a little bit something different every time. So the blindness of the move is especially what gets me here, and it's part of, I think, why you have such a lack of movement, such a tendency to push away. Like, it is an unbelievable tendency to want to push away. That's one of the things that, like, you can feel their energy right there. You can feel their energy right there, and yet they are coming up with, I have to put limits here. I have to establish a boundary, and I have to, I guess I have a question about how that's the right thing to do in their mind. If we're not going to do an extended on this one because it's a soulmate snapshot, but if we were doing an extended on that, that's, I think, what we would ask. Like, how is that the right thing to do in your mind? Because they're clearly thinking this is the right thing to do. They're intimidated, and so they immediately just kind of make it impossible to be successful. There's this feeling of like they're digging in their heels. Unconditional love is triggering them to act like it's a trap. They're feeling like it's that smothering trap that I mentioned to that viewer in the email I sent back. And I think, like I was saying, I can't respond to every email, but I think what I want to do is to try and bring some of those answers back to these readings. So that way, if somebody does ask a question, I don't mind to address it for the group. I'll never identify you. I'm not going to do that, but I think it might be interesting. Just to kind of see, I'll keep bringing the questions, basically, and there'll be, questions of all kinds, whether the cards are where we get the answers, or maybe we can grab some observations from some of these cards. So let's look a little bit more into what's happening with your person's response to unconditional love. And like I said, we'll look later, I think tomorrow, into the fact that you can feel their energy right there. And it's just strange. How can you come to something that's so positive and you decide that the answer is to block it and run? I guess that's the question, but we're getting to the edge of it now. So there's not forward movement. This is the Page of Pentacles. There is not forward movement for them in some of the lessons that they're supposed to be learning right now. And we've got the Six of Wands saying that there is something for them that they feel like they can control. This is a card about control, and they're feeling like because they are able to say no, because they are able to create this rejection that they don't have to feel. Like, it's painful for them, even to be the party who walks away. But they feel like they're insulating themselves from some additional pain that could be worse. It's kind of got that feel to it. It's the lesser of the evils. They're not healing on something, though, and it's something that you have expressly brought to their attention. So we've got the Four of Pentacles. This is them not letting go of it. Not letting go, and it's that very lesson. It's partially, we know from what I was saying earlier, that they have a hard time with being comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, or hanging out in an uncomfortable situation. So this is not necessarily something where any of us go, oh boy, I don't understand why that would be. Like, we all want to get out of the discomfort, but there's been a lot of people in this collective who have really gotten next level about their ability to remain comfortable, remain calm, find comfort in a situation that is ultimately not very comfortable and constantly reminding you of it. It's that Five of Cups in reverse feeling, that feeling over there of that balance, and being able to say, there are elements of this I'm not super thrilled about, but there are also, I can see the positive, I can see the transitions that are still, not necessarily be able to see the details of those, but to know that they're still ahead and there's going to be change that'll make everything a little different. But with this lack of, and this one's a little gruesome, but it's more of that surrealism. He's made out of bread. It's very interesting. We've got the Four of Swords in reverse. That's the healing that's not done. We've got the Three of Wands, things already being set in motion. It's like there's This is that inevitability. It's inevitability, and it's one of the reasons that, like, subconsciously, and I rarely use that word, but they feel like they could kind of back off a little bit. They kind of feel like they could back off a little bit because it's inevitable anyway. It's automatically just gonna, I'm supposed to stop. It's inevitably just gonna happen. That's interesting. I don't usually get that. I don't usually get that from your person. No, I guess we hear it sometimes. They feel like it's inevitable, but it's not usually something they use outright as like an excuse. But it's, again, not necessarily all the way at that conscious level. So I suppose that makes some degree of sense. Um, let's take a look at what you can be doing. So as always, we're going to look into your development. We're going to look into your healing and what you can be doing given the things that we're seeing in the rest of the reading. What does your immediate focus need to look like? So we've got the Four of Cups here. There's a disappointment here, and it's a pretty strong disappointment, kind of following you around and making it tough. I see that you're still seeing the potential for transformation that comes out in this Five of Cups that I was just talking about a minute ago again. But I don't know, like, it still seems very uncomfortable. That's what I get from this. There's still some disappointment that just has a hard time fading, has a hard time going away. And for some reason, I don't wonder what that reason is, I guess. You're being asked to go into that feeling of disappointment when you're feeling the uncomfortable things. Instead of covering them up and kind of pushing them away because they're uncomfortable things, you're being recommended instead to look more deeply into them, because you've built a level of self-trust here that you might not quite realize. And we've seen this in other readings. You might not realize it because you haven't necessarily had the opportunity to really exercise it yet. So Four of Wands, it's going to be like you're balancing on one of those balance boards, where you put your feet on either side of the fulcrum and kind of try to remain balanced. It's kind of got that feeling to it. So it's not balanced, but it's almost like the fact that it's not balanced is building you up. By design, it's building you up. This is the Nine of Wands. Also, my favorite painting by Salvador Dali is represented in this card. It's an interesting one. It represents, though, the Nine of Wands represents those places that you guard that are they're unnecessary to guard, but it's a guard that you don't know how to let down. With it in reverse like this, it's you having had the opportunity to look at some of those places and say, these walls no longer need to be guarded. Maybe they never did. I'm not done solving the problems around, because you are not. They haven't done their healing either, but you haven't finished with the healing around the abandonment and the rejection. That's part of the reason that these readings will still resonate. As you start to really heal from that, these readings, you're going to break off and not feel as strong of a resonance with it. Now, also, don't be surprised if it kind of comes back and then the consistency of following the readings comes back. But I was talking with another viewer about that not too long ago. So you do still have this this search to go on, but it means that you've got something very positive that's happening. I see something positive socially. I am glad to see the Three of Cups looking positive again, because we've seen enough of it kind of looking like third-party negativity, and it's just one of those things that comes up sometimes. Not third-party negativity. Sometimes it's just their values. It's not even necessarily a person in their life. It's the way that they were raised, their ability to get out and figure out what it is that makes them happy. And that's really what your quest is going to be about. That Eight of Cups quest is about figuring out what truly makes you happy at this point in your life, because it changes. It's not the same when you're a little kid as it is when you're a teenager. It takes different things to make you happy, and then as you get into different stages of life beyond that, it just continues to change. Definitely doesn't it's not going to be the same thing, different phases of your life. And you're going to, with that, there's a segment of this learning that has to do with walking away from battles that don't make a lot of sense. That's an area of focus that really, with all of this, it's like I say that to say this. You are having fewer walls to guard because there are some battles you don't need to be a part of. There's something new for you to do here. There's something new for you to jump into. It is an opportunity that's going to present itself, but this one feels a little bit more like a relationship, possibly a platonic friendship. Difficult to say, but it does feel like a relationship that kind of really, it feels like it moves you. But it's also going to give you a lot of fear. Your connection with your higher self is going to come in handy here, because without it, that magician that we just saw in the reverse was kind of just an honorable mention. But without that connection with your higher power and your higher self and your intuition, you're going to be feeling a little less sure of yourself as you move forward into this relationship, whatever it is. And this is here to enrich your life. This is something that's going to, it'll teach you some lessons, but it's very positive. You know, I talked about, and I didn't think about this coming up, but I talked about that gentle karmic relationship, you know, and it's, we think of a karmic soulmate sometimes as not necessarily being a great thing, but sometimes it's a lot of lessons. But then once you start to get the hang of those lessons, you can have a very positive experience together. It is not like that of a twin flame where it's constant. It's very, very challenging to get on top of those lessons. And they are big whole soul type lessons, a very different type of relationship that can emerge there. So I'm going to go ahead and end this. It's a soulmate snapshot. I might have gotten a little bit into it today. We're going to look at this tomorrow, and we're going to ask the question, hey, I can feel you right there. How is this running away the right thing to do in your mind? And I understand maybe I shouldn't word the question exactly that way, but that's kind of the gist of it. So I look forward to seeing you in tomorrow's reading. And thanks so much. Subscribe if this is you, and I look forward to seeing you going forward.